Hi, I'm Kelsey. I have worked and volunteered here at Camp Susque for many years. Today, we are going to be learning about pond ecology, which means that we are going to be learning about the really cool critters that we find in our pond, as well as what some food chains in our pond might look like. So, grab your hat and come on with me. Welcome to the pond. What sort of things do you see here at the pond? I see, first of all, that there's water here behind me. There are plants along the edge of the pond. On this far side of the pond, there are trees. There is a mountain up above the pond. There are some birds flying over the pond, some insects flying over the pond. And there's also, it is a bright, warm, sunny day today. We can see the sunshine, but we can also feel the heat of the sun. The pond looks really beautiful and peaceful right now, but there's actually a lot of animals that live in our pond. What sort of animals do you think we might find in the pond? You might think of fish, and we do have fish in our ponds, lots of fish. We also have frogs and salamanders and snails. Most of the animals that live in our pond, though, are very small. They are things like insects or other very small aquatic organisms. So my question for you is, do you know what a food chain is? A food chain tells us who eats whom. So food chains always start with the sun. The sun is the source of all the energy on the earth. But that energy can only be used by certain organisms. Those would be things like plants, things that are typically green and can perform photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is a process by which plants and other organisms can take the energy from the sun and turn it into sugar, or turn it into food. That food then, that's in the plant, can be eaten by other animals. And those animals might get eaten by other bigger animals. And that describes the layers of a food chain. We always start with the sun, and the sun provides energy for green things like plants. Those green things get eaten by small animals, and then those small animals are eaten by big animals as well. I want to talk about some things in the environment here at the pond that can affect who is a part of our food chain. Those things include temperature, which we can measure with a thermometer, as well as pH, which tells us how acidic the water is. I have left my thermometer in the pond for about 30 seconds to get an accurate reading of the temperature. And the temperature in this shallow section of the pond is about 22 degrees Celsius. To measure pH, I'm going to take a water sample. And then I'm going to put a pH test strip into the water sample. And the color on the strip will tell me what the pH level is when I compare it to this chart. Our pH is somewhere between 6 and 7 because our strip stayed yellow. And that's typical, is that our water would be about 6 or 7, which is about neutral. So why does it matter what the temperature or the pH of our pond is? Well, certain animals like it to be warmer and other animals like it to be colder. And the same thing is true about pH. Some animals prefer it to be more acidic and some animals prefer it to be less acidic. So let's review what we talked about today. We talked about some of the things that are here around and inside our pond. We learned about what a food chain is. We also learned about some of the features of our pond that will affect what living things are a part of our food chain. Some of those things are temperature, which we can measure with a thermometer, and pH. When you are at home, I encourage you to keep your eyes peeled. The next time that you are around a body of water, take a look around and see if you can identify the parts of our food chain. Can you see any plants or algae growing? Can you see some insects? Can you see some bigger animals like frogs and fish that might eat those insects? And just make a note of what that steps of the food chain might look like in a different environment. And we'll see you next time here at Camp Susque.